It took exactly 2 years for Ubisoft to follow up to the success of the critically acclaimed Far Cry 4. Far Cry Primal is a 2016 first-person shooter game developed by Ubisoft Montreal and published by Ubisoft. This is the 9th installment in the Far Cry series. They stuck with the same tried and tested formula of the open-world survival first-person shooter, while crafting a game that fits neatly into an already established existing series. But don't let that fool you. This isn't just a Far Cry game set in a prehistoric time frame. Far Cry Primal added a ton of new features and content to the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 generation, further building on what previous Far Cry games had already started. But unfortunately, this game did not get the needed attention it deserved. It sold fewer copies than the other main entries in the Far Cry series. Far Cry Primal sold just 4 million copies, and in comparison, Far Cry 5 sold 20 million copies. The timing definitely worked against this game, as Uncharted 4 and Batman Return to Arkham had just launched, but loyal fans still grabbed this game regardless. A lot of players missed out on this gem entirely, and that's a real shame, because not only is Far Cry Primal an amazing game set in a different timeline in the Far Cry universe, it might just be the best one yet. Set during the prehistoric times, the game follows the story of Takkar, a hunter who is unarmed, but will ultimately rise to become the leader of a tribe called Wenja, using his special gift of taming animals. Far Cry Primal was released on the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One on February 23, 2016, while the Windows version was released shortly afterwards on March 1, 2016. The development was led by Ubisoft Montreal, with assistance provided by Ubisoft Toronto, Ubisoft Kiev, and Ubisoft Shanghai. On the 3rd of December 2015, creative director Maxim stated that Far Cry Primal would be as big as Far Cry 4. The game would not feature a multiplayer mode. This decision was made during the early stages of the game's development, as the main focus of Ubisoft was strictly on the game's core gameplay instead. The game runs on an upgraded version of the Dunia 2 engine from Far Cry 4. Due to the game's setting, Ubisoft considered tasking its writing team to create a fictional language from scratch. But after realizing that this would be too much strain on the writers, they decided to source for help outside. Anthropologists and linguists were consulted before they began work on the game, providing advice for the megafauna and languages respectively. The languages in Far Cry Primal are based on Proto-Indo-European, which itself is a reconstruction of a language or group of languages believed to have existed somewhere in Eastern Europe and Asia, sometime around 7000 to 3000 BC, depending on the hypothesis that was followed. And while we are talking about time frame, Far Cry Primal was set in 10,000 BC during the upper end of the Paleolithic and the beginning of the Mesolithic period in Europe. It takes place in the fictional Oros Valley in the Carpathian Mountains of Central and Eastern Europe, with an open world filled with different types of flora and fauna. A large portion of the game's map consists of modified regions from Kyrat, the fictional Himalayas country featured in Far Cry 4, specifically South Kyrat, and a small part from the northern western North Kyrat. Unlike previous games, there are prehistoric wildlife such as woolly mammoth, dire wolves, cave bears, cave lions, woolly rhinos, Irish elk, and saber-toothed cats, along with forms of modern creatures like brown bears, badgers, and deer. Survival is a daily challenge as tribes come into conflict with one another and nature. Far Cry Primal is fundamentally a Far Cry game, no surprise here. The same first-person shooter open world survival mechanics exist. You take on the role of a Wenja tribesman named Takkar, who is stranded in Oros with no weapons after his hunting party got ambushed by a saber-toothed tiger. As the game is set in prehistoric times, the traditional gunplay and vehicular movements featured in the main entry Far Cry series were removed. Here, you have access to only melee weapons such as spears, clubs, and ranged weapons such as bows and slings. You cannot purchase weapons, rather every weapon you need you must craft them using materials scavenged throughout the world such as wood and stone. As you progress, you gain god tier skills to craft more lethal weapons with a larger variety of resources. In Far Cry Primal, nature is your biggest enemy. Just as you start to get the hang of facing natural dangers, you must also compete with other hostile tribes occupying the area. In the game, you expand your dominance and strength of your once almost extinct tribe by attacking and seizing bonfires and camps. After every successful attack and seizure, your tribesmen, the Wenja, will move in and start patrolling the nearby region, which also gains you access to fast travel points and camps to rest in. NPCs will also give you side quests in which your main objective is to rescue your fellow tribesmen and perform other tasks which improve the village, as well as provide free crafting materials. The game also features a dynamic weather system and day and night cycle, which affects the gameplay. At night, more predators are present and many become more aggressive and dangerous, whereas during the day, the player can gather food and scavenge other resources such as tools for hunting. The player can make use of fire as a tool for personal protection or for hunting at night, forcing you to carefully think of your strategy and playstyle. You can bait different wildlife in the game using lures, but the biggest feature of Far Cry Primal is the ability to tame predators while they are feeding on bait. These animals serve as your companion, and they also assist you in combating enemies after being tamed, and they can be summoned remotely and issued basic commands. Larger animals like saber-toothed cats can be used as mounts. Takkar has an owl, his spirit animal, which can be directly controlled. Through the owl's vision, the player can scout enemies, outposts, and highlight enemies. Through skill improvements, the owl can be upgraded to have various abilities added, such as diving to kill an enemy or dropping bombs. Thanks, Assassin's Creed. In a post-launch update, a survival mode which drastically increases the game's difficulty was introduced.
Suwan, Rasta. Suwan. Uślał dragłasz. Takkar!
Takkar is a hunter from the Wenja tribe. He is the only survivor after his hunting party gets ambushed and killed by a saber-tooth, which cuts him off from the rest of his kin. He decides to proceed alone, and on his journey, Takkar meets Sailor, a Wenja gatherer whose life he saves in the tiger's cave. And once they arrive at Oros, Sailor informs Takkar that the Wenja tribe are scattered and homeless across the land after their village was destroyed by the leader of the Neanderthal-like Udam tribe, who lives in the northern mountains, who are obsessed with warfare and hunting and frequently kidnap Wenja to cannibalize them. Takkar then proceeds to start reuniting the people of Wenja he meets around his cave, which eventually leads to him encountering the wolf shaman Tensei. Tensei then helps him unlock and learn the new ability to tame local animals. Tensei dubs Takkar the Beastmaster for his skill. Upon learning that the Wenja are reuniting, launches an attack on the village, confronting Takkar for the first time in the process. Takkar successfully repels the assaults and destroys the Udam camp, but at the cost of several Wenja lives. Sailor then demands that Takkar kill and bring back one of the war chief's ear as proof, and Takkar vows to do so. Takkar then seeks the help of 3 other skilled Wenja: Jaima, a veteran huntress, Woga, a one-armed craftsman, and Karush, a one-eyed warrior with his own vendetta against Udam. With the help of Tensei, Takkar discovers that the Udam are eating Wenja flesh in hopes of gaining immunity from a terminal genetic disease, the Skullfire, that is wiping out their tribe. ship. Then Takkar tracks down and apprehends the Udam commander, Da, to learn more about Udam's techniques. Several Wenja reject Takkar's decision to give shelter to a Udam warrior at first. Then they took him to a cave to be executed by drowning, until Takkar himself arrives just at the nick of time and chastises his tribe for disobeying him. And in doing so, he earns the respect and gratitude of Takkar, which leads him to help Takkar's cause. Tensei then tells Takkar that some of the Wenja people are still being enslaved and burned alive as human sacrifice to a sun goddess by another tribe called the Izila, an agrarian, more advanced tribe that lives in the marshlands of the southern Oros. Takkar then proceeds to go and find the Izila slave camp, puts it to a torch and frees his people, only for him to be captured himself while living. Upon meeting Batari, the leader of the Izila, face to face, she offers Takkar a place at her side. Impressed with his Beastmaster abilities, when he refuses, she throws him into a burning pit to die. But Takkar escapes the pit and returns to his village, sparking a war between Wenja and the Izila. After preparing himself enough to face U and Batari, Takkar storms the Udam and Izila's main fortress, passing by all oppositions before confronting and killing the main commanders. While the defiant Batari is burned alive during a solar eclipse, U urges Takkar to take care of his two children with his dying breath, which Takkar accepts, taking them back with him to his village. With both tribes defeated and Wenja dominance secured, Roshani agrees to stay with the Wenja tribe and teach them how to grow food, while Takkar reluctantly agrees to mercifully kill Da, ending his suffering from disease. Takkar then joins Sayla and Tensei in a celebration of his victory with the other villagers. With that being said, that is the end of Far Cry Primal. Following the success of Far Cry 4, Far Cry Primal took everything Far Cry 4 did and made it bigger and better. This was arguably the most deeply fleshed out Far Cry game in the entire series. Please, if you enjoyed this video, kindly hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit the notification bell icon so you can get notified when I post new videos like this, as I am desperately trying to get to 1K by the end of this year. And until next time, peace and love.
Incredible.